is only skin deep. Scratch the surface, and sometimes you find evil within. A gorgeous woman believes age is no barrier to brutality.
She used her feminine wiles to rob and steal.
A cabaret star performs a lethal finale.
She was not going to take any nonsense.
And a farmer's wife harvests husbands for cash.
Pamela was either sadistic or her heart was as black as coal.
These deadly women know they'll always get their way. If looks could kill.
We was broke, now it's 0 to a million cuz from the projects. Now it's 0 to a million cuz.
In the summer of 2008, in the Bronx, New York City, Angela Murray knows how to make a quick buck.
She was young. She was in trouble with the law now and then. She didn't go in the best social circles.
30-year-old Angela and her boyfriend sell bootleg cigarettes.
Baby, I told you these was good.
You should do this for a living.
But when her lover is arrested and imprisoned, Angela is left alone and destitute. Instead of selling cigarettes on the street corners, the gorgeous brunette decides to sell herself.
Angela Murray made money on the side prostituting.
She plies her trade on the mean streets of Brooklyn.
Why do they drive down here if they're not gonna stop?
Tourists, just out for a look.
But Angela still likes to pick and choose her clientele.
Here comes money.
I'm not that desperate.
Felix Brinkman was in his 90s, living on the Upper East Side in New York.
Hey, ladies.
Hey, Felix.
Who's gonna make an old man happy tonight?
He lives on the Upper East Side, but Felix works downtown. Tonight, he's cashed up and cruising for some fun.
I'll make it worth your while.
I think it's Angela's turn tonight.
Felix was 92 years old when he met Angela, but he didn't act like a 92-year-old person.
Come on.
Put it really simply, Felix just loved to get laid.
He used to tell me about picking up girls in the South Bronx in this real high crime area and bringing them home. I'd say, Felix, man, you gotta be careful. You gotta laugh at me.
What Angela doesn't realize is Felix is no ordinary senior citizen. He is the king of disco fever.
Felix ran a discotheque, Adam's Apple.
The Adam's Apple was the hottest club in the 1970s and 1980s. I spent many a night partying with him.
But not all of Felix's past has been a party. The German immigrant had tough beginnings.
Felix Brinkman was something else. I mean, he was a Holocaust survivor. He'd spent 5 years in Auschwitz.
So tell me more about this girl.
This guy was sort of an inspiration to so many people. He survived 3 concentration camps.
Surviving the camps gives Felix an insatiable lust for life.
Ain't you worried about the risk?
Risk? After what I've been through?
According to his close friend, former NYPD detective Bo Dietl.
Just loved women, and it was like God took 5 years of his life away, and he was not able to be with anybody. So when he got out, he made it his direction in life to be with as many women as he can.
So when the uptown boy meets this downtown girl, they are both winners.
Come to Papa. Oh, baby. Oh, yeah.
Felix has snapped up a beauty.
No kissing.
Oh, come on.
And Angela Murray sees her aging client as a golden opportunity.
She saw that he was wealthy and had nice things.
She knew that he had a safe. She knew that he had valuables there.
The girl from the Bronx is seduced by the prospect of fast cash.
So how old is he?
I don't know.
She hatched an idea to go over to his house and rob him.
Too old to put up a fight.
She decided to get her friends and come back and take his stuff.
And he's rich?
You should see the amount of cash he has on him.
Angela recruits 2 henchmen for the job, 30-year-old Hasim Cutts and his 27-year-old brother, Elijah.
Yeah, all right, I'll do it. Guess I'm in.
The Cutts brothers were basically low-life criminals. I mean, between the two of them, they had over 50 arrests.
Let's go.
What, now?
Angela Murray was the brains behind the operation. She hatched the plan, she saw the safe, and she was sort of the femme fatale in this scenario.
I think Angela looked at Felix as an easy target. He was elderly, and he had money.
We're entering the building now.
On July 29, 2009,
Felix Brinkman.
Really?
Angela pays Felix an unexpected visit.
Hello, Mr. Brinkman?
Elijah Cutts by her side.
When they got to his apartment building, they were stopped by the doorman. And Angela called up.
She's a friend of mine. Please, let her come up.
Yes, sir. You say so.
Angela was very good at lying and manipulating. The doorman and Felix were manipulated.
Angela thinks robbing frail old Felix will be a pushover.
Hello, lovely.
But she is wrong.
Felix didn't get the happy ending he was looking for that night. Nobody did.
In Manhattan's Upper East Side, July 2009. Self-made businessman Felix Brinkman has hooked up with streetwise gal Angela Murray. The 92-year-old doesn't realize this pretty woman is taking him for a ride.
Hi, Felix.
I think that she was a person who used her feminine wiles to rob and steal.
Tell me the combination.
Angela thinks this will be like stealing candy from a baby.
You gotta be kidding me.
So they get into his apartment, and basically they're asking for the money. It's a shakedown. They want to get what they can.
Think I'm kidding now?
She knows Felix keeps his valuables in the safe. But the Holocaust survivor is a tough nut to crack.
They ordered Felix to give them the combination of the safe, but he wouldn't do it.
I done 5 years in Auschwitz. You ain't gonna get nothing from me.
He's been through the worst that people can imagine.
I think that he'd survived so much that he wasn't about to get bullied by these 2 punks.
The frail man's bravery surprises his young attackers.
Hit him!
And the robbery turns violent.
These killers were ruthless. They shoved underwear in his mouth. They beat him up till it broke his eye socket. They slugged him. They did everything they could to break him, to get him to give up the money, which he wouldn't do.
Felix suffered unspeakable torture before they finally took his life. That was unnecessary.
Felix's son said that his dad was a fighter, and we know he was a fighter. He'd been through so much. And if he hadn't fought that night, Felix probably would have survived.
Felix takes the safe's combination to his grave.
Felix Brinkman survived 5 years in one of the most notorious Nazi concentration camps, Auschwitz, but he could not survive a night with Angela Murray.
Angela bungles the robbery. Now she bungles the getaway.
The safe was very heavy, so they wheeled it away in a rolling chair to Felix Brinkman's car. They stole Felix Brinkman's car to get the safe back to Angela Murray's apartment.
Hunter!
The thieves can't wait to open their treasure chest.
Dad!
They spent the entire evening
Where all this money at? Huh?
beating the safe open.
Money, yeah. Give me my money.
And when they popped it open, much to their disappointment, they found Felix Brinkman's old tax records.
What's with all the papers?
Worthless.
Where's the money? Did you see him? Put money.
Felix had 2 safes in his home. The cash and jewels were in the other safe.
When Felix's body is found the next day, it tells a horrible tale.
Felix's injuries were no accident. They were systematic torture.
His close friend, Detective Bo Dietl, is one of the first on the scene.
When I got there, I didn't go up. As a homicide detective, you can see hundreds of dead people. But when you love them, it's not just another homicide. I was his family, and he was my family.
Who would carry out such a brutal attack? When the police check the apartment's security cameras, they find out.
Primarily because of the carelessness of Angela and her friends, taking the safe out through a building that had security cameras everywhere.
Investigators sift through Felix's phone records. The mystery woman caught on camera is identified. They raid Angela Murray's home.
Police entered her apartment. They found Brinkman's safe with his tax records and his ID.
Let's get her in the car.
It was a smoking gun that they had done the crime.
Angela Murray and the Cutts brothers are charged with murder. As always, Angela thinks only of herself.
There is no honor among thieves, and Angela proved that. As soon as she saw the evidence against her, she turned on her helpers.
Elijah Cutts is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years to life. Brother Hasim, guilty of robbery and sentenced to a maximum of 15 years.
The most shocking part of the crime is the brutality of the murder. They could have let the man go.
In 2012, Angela Murray pleads guilty to second-degree murder. She must serve a minimum of 16 years in prison.
Angela Murray murdered 92-year-old Felix Brinkman, not because she was angry, not because she was jealous. She did it for some cash.
Angela Murray's passion for a fast buck wiped out one of Manhattan's much-loved characters.
I miss him all the time. I really, really do.
A woman with pizzazz
She was definitely a free spirit.
is a magnet for men.
She was a flashing, attractive lady.
But high spirits can mask a wicked heart.
The death was anything but natural.
In the farmlands just west of Tucson, Arizona, 1926. Eva Dugan is starting a new job.
Morning.
Morning. Would you like some sugar?
Tending house for reclusive farmer Andrew J. Mathis.
What's that?
Do you want some sugar?
I'm sweet enough.
Andrew was a wealthy and crotchety old man who lived by himself.
It was said that he was worth a decent amount of money. He raised chickens mostly. He sold them in town to restaurants.
47-year-old Eva knows little about her wealthy new employer. And Andrew knows nothing about Eva. Behind his housekeeper's shy smile lies a wicked past.
Eva knew men like the back of her hand.
Eva's education begins in the saloons of Alaska, where she learns to use her natural assets to make ends meet.
Eva went to Alaska during the gold rush to become a cabaret singer.
It was the Wild West, and it was rough. There was a lot of bad guys.
To the gold miners, she's a star. But Eva's fame has been forced upon her. She has a family to support.
Eva became a mother of 2 children by the time she was 16, and her husband abandoned her.
Eva's talents extend beyond the bright lights.
She was a prostitute.
A lot of women became prostitutes because they needed to feed their children.
For the next 2 decades, Eva does a roaring trade on stage and off.
She knew how to read people quickly, understand what they wanted to hear from her.
But by 1926, the burlesque queen has lost her looks. She needs to find another way to make a living.
As an older woman, she was a little prickly, sometimes defeated by life. She'd had a hard, hard life.
When Eva takes a job with Arizona rancher Andrew Mathis, she refuses to bow down to her new boss.
And take off your boots! What's that?
The cantankerous farmer gives as good as he gets.
Andrew, having employed Eva, was just a complete disaster for them both.
For the 100th time, take off your boots! How dare you!
He was very demanding of Eva.
I might as well be talking to the chickens.
She was not going to take any nonsense.
I don't take orders from anybody.
She was in your face. She just said what she felt like saying.
Especially that old woman.
Their relationship was extremely contentious.
After just weeks together,
I wouldn't serve that to a pig.
the tensions reach the boiling point.
I would.
What's that?
Eva tries to pacify her employer with a rabbit stew.
Andrew became ill.
She said that he ate a rabbit that had gone bad, and she warned him about it, but he ate it anyway.
Andrew is suspicious of his housekeeper.
You have a unique talent for making every meal awful.
You made me use the old rabbit.
No, it ain't the rabbit. It's your cooking.
He told neighbors he thought Eva was trying to poison him.
His friends don't believe his story.
They had grown used to not listening to Andrew because all he did was complain.
The aging rancher makes a full recovery.
Open up!
But he's had enough of this domineering woman.
This incompetence has gone on long enough.
The end result was that Andrew had told Eva he wanted her off the property, gone, and never come back.
Pack your belongings.
Eva is about to lose her job and her home.
Watch out of here in the morning.
She has one final household chore to complete.
It may have sparked just enough rage to put her over the edge.
The winter of 1927. At a chicken ranch near Tucson, Arizona. Housekeeper Eva Dugan
Take off your boots.
and her boss,
What's that?
Andrew J. Mathis,
For the 100th time.
have been at each other's throats for weeks.
Get back to work.
But in mid-January, the homestead is deathly quiet. Neighbors sense something's wrong and alert the police.
They call the sheriff, and he goes out to the property. What he finds is Andrew's car is missing.
Hello? Mr. Mathis?
The sheriff scours the ranch for clues.
And he started digging around in the house. In the fireplace, he finds a partially burned ear trumpet.
Anyone home?
And when the sheriff pulled it out of the fire, he noticed that it had blood on it. So he suspected immediately foul play.
Andrew Mathis never leaves without his ear trumpet. Where is he? He hasn't been sighted for days.
He had left to go into town, but after that, no one saw him.
And there's no sign of his former housekeeper, Eva Dugan. For the next year, the disappearance of the wealthy rancher remains a mystery.
The sheriff wouldn't give it up. He was convinced that something had happened to Andrew, but he was running out of threads to pull until at the end of 1927, a guy is camping right outside the gate of Mathis Ranch.
He was trying to tie down his tent and sort of fell into a little depression, and when he looked around in there, he found bones.
The flesh is all gone. There's nothing there but a skeleton.
It is missing rancher Andrew J. Mathis.
What the pathologist found when they examined Matthew's body, his skull was broken. Those signs made it very easy to realize the death was anything but natural.
This is now a murder inquiry. The sheriff traces Andrew's missing car.
He traced the car to Amarillo, and he found that the bill of sale for it had been signed by a Mrs. A.J. Mathis. A.J. Mathis, the dead guy. So they figured something was up.
The woman matches the description of Eva Dugan.
They were able to trace Eva all the way out to White Plains, New York.
Police still can't link Eva to Andrew's murder. They arrest her for a crime they can prove.
Sheriff charged her with grand larceny. She was extradited from New York to Arizona to face that charge.
investigators hope to shock Eva into a murder confession. They pull out a trump card.
And they set the skull on the warden's desk.
Recognize this fella, Eva?
She looks over at the skull and she said, no, not really.
No.
Face to face with her dead employer, Eva won't give an inch.
There's no way that she's going to confess to a crime.
And I know nothing about what happened.
Oh, I think you do.
The police decide there's enough evidence to charge Eva Dugan with murder.
It was circumstantial evidence, but she was the one with the opportunity.
They believe they know what happened on the ranch that winter's night. Eva creeps into Andrew's bedroom and finds a weapon close at hand.
Mrs. Dugan!
He was beaten over the head with some sort of blunt object. It's very possible that a metal ear trumpet could have been used and would have been strong enough.
Who's the boss now?
Furious at being fired and made homeless, the fading beauty takes her revenge.
It may have sparked just enough rage to put her over the edge into murder.
Eva has a dead body on her hands. She digs a shallow grave on a remote part of the property.
Eva really didn't know what she was doing. She hadn't planned the burial very well.
She adds quicklime to help the body decompose. But when the skull resurfaces, a few remaining strands of hair are enough to identify Andrew J. Mathis. In 1928, Eva Dugan is found guilty of murder and sentenced to hang. She can no longer rely on her looks to save her.
Eva made a point when she said that if she'd been a cute young flapper instead of a broken down old woman in her 50s, the jury might have looked more kindly on her. It's sad but true.
On February 21st, 1930, the former cabaret queen is center stage once more. This show is not of her own choosing.
At about 5:01, the noose was placed around her neck and tightened. The trap was sprung almost immediately. She went down, but her body fell away from her head beneath the gallows in a pool of blood. She'd been decapitated.
Her masked head rolled to the feet of the spectators, and her body, headless, continued to pump blood for several minutes, to the horror of the spectators.
I think that's probably the most gruesome thing I've ever heard.
Eva Dugan becomes a legend for all the wrong reasons. Her death is so macabre. She is the last person to be hanged in Arizona.
Eva Dugan was a killer, but she was a very colorful one. She knew what the public wanted. They wanted a show, and she gave it to them.
A woman on the land must be nurturing.
She was telling everyone she could take care of them.
What on earth?
Resourceful.
She routinely administered medications to Dor.
And above all, tough as nails.
The last few weeks of Dorian's life were hell.
Duplin County, North Carolina, 1993. Newlywed Pamela Lanier is a humble farmer's wife.
Oh, baby, you can't improve on perfection.
But the 38-year-old still likes to look her best.
Should I wear this?
No, you look great the way you are.
You had a wife whose husband worshipped her, adored her.
Turkey farmer Dorian Lanier is her second husband.
Oh, he'll love you just like I do.
Dorian Lanier was a Duplin County native, hardworking.
Pamela, I'd like you to meet my good buddy, Jackie. Jackie, my beautiful wife, Pamela.
So lovely to finally meet you, Jackie.
Conservative man who put family first, was just a salt-of-the-earth type of guy.
How about a bear?
Thought you'd never ask.
The former widow is keen to please her new man.
Oh, what do you think?
Pam also charms Dorian's best friend, Jackie.
Come on, have a seat.
For the next 3 years, Pam and Dorian relish their life together.
So, thank you, baby.
They genuinely seemed to be in love. They enjoyed each other's company.
Until the winter of 1996.
Dorian and a friend were out working on a secluded part of the farm. Pam was home alone.
Sorry.
And a fire broke out.
Oh, damn, this is my house.
Pam manages to escape the burning farmhouse.
Oh, baby, are you okay?
Yes.
Dorian and Jackie do their best to save the homestead.
They run back over there, and by this time, the house is engulfed. The house was basically a total loss.
Dorian and Pam lose everything. But there's a silver lining.
We've lost everything.
It's okay, baby. Insurance will cover it.
Insurance paid him about $140,000. They bought a new home as a result of that.
The couple embraces this second chance, buying their dream turkey farm.
It was a new opportunity for them. Fresh start. Dorian particularly was excited about the opportunity.
As the turkeys thrive, so does Pam and Dorian's business.
They grew turkeys. They were contract growers for a large turkey operation here in Duplin County.
But life on the land is full of hardship.
In September of 1997, Dorian was operating his bulldozer, and his leg was hit by a branch of a sweet gum tree.
What on earth happened?
Oh, it came too close to his tree. I'll be fine.
He was injured as a result of that.
Pam wants to nurse her husband back to good health.
She was telling everyone she could take care of him. Dorian wanted her to take care of him.
It's only a minor injury, but Dorian needs constant attention. He doesn't trust doctors, preferring his wife to take charge.
Because of his love for Pam
This will make you feel better, darling.
and his trust in Pam, he was allowing her to diagnose his condition and to medicate his condition.
Instead of improving, Dorian goes downhill.
Don't waste your energy.
It wasn't long, within weeks of the accident, saw Dorian in basically an incapacitated state, almost in a stupor.
Rest, my sweet.
Dorian was described by others as being a zombie.
For Pam, it's a grim reminder of her tragic past. Her first husband, Johnny, died in a farming accident 6 years earlier.
Johnny had been drinking all day and went out to check his crab pots. and walked out on a dock, stumbled in.
He was drunk and fell into the lake and drowned.
It was a senseless death.
Johnny was an excellent swimmer, and where he was ultimately found was in about 3 to 4 feet of water.
He was drinking all day long. He came down to check his crab pots and he must have fallen in.
His death was ruled accidental at the time.
Pam is determined not to lose husband number 2.
Hello?
She bans visitors and maintains a bedside vigil.
He's not ready for visitors yet.
After all, Pam is the one who knows exactly what Dorian needs.
Maybe tomorrow.
She wanted us to believe that she was a very caring and loving wife, and our investigation revealed anything but.
In a farmhouse in Duplin County, North Carolina, November 19th, 1997.
I told you he doesn't want to see anybody.
Dorian Lanyard's best pal, Jackie, visits his sick friend. He is horrified by the transformation.
Jackie described Dorian as being almost orange in color and incoherent.
Call 911.
And almost in a stupor.
He doesn't want to go to the hospital.
He couldn't carry on a conversation. The man was in just such pain.
I can take care of him here.
Jackie calls 911.
Pam did not want him to do that.
I need an ambulance.
That she wanted to continue to try to nurse Dorian back to health there at their residence.
Dorian is rushed to emergency, but his first night in the hospital is his last.
He was in excruciating pain. It had been for some time. And ultimately, his vital organs shut down and he passed away.
The last few weeks of Dorian's life, especially the last few days, were hell.
The Duplin County Sheriff investigates Dorian's strange death. He discovers Pam has been medicating herself.
She's addicted to painkillers. And at one point, it's known she had spent $10,000 in a short amount of time on them.
Detectives delve deeper into Pamela's past.
You can't keep spending money we don't have.
Don't blame me because you can't support us.
Her first marriage to Johnny Williams was full of hardship.
They were having financial problems. She and Johnny were getting ready to have a significant piece of property foreclosed upon.
Johnny is also struck down with a mystery illness.
Johnny started to exhibit these same characteristics that we saw from Dorian shortly before Dorian died. Johnny was having these incidents of just confusion.
Weeks after falling ill, Johnny drowns.
She told the police he was drunk and fell into the lake and drowned.
The police exhume Johnny Williams's body, and the tide turns.
There was no alcohol in his system, and it was a very shallow part of the lake.
If Johnny wasn't drunk, how does a strong swimmer drown in shallow water?
That suggests to me that she was involved in the death of Johnny Williams.
Pamela inherits Johnny's farm and $25,000 in life insurance. She also profits from Dorian's death.
She was in line to inherit everything that Dorian had, and at that point, he was in pretty good financial situation.
For investigators, it is no coincidence.
We had financial motives in both instances. We had her being married to both of these individuals, and we had her being the primary caregiver for both of these men shortly before they died.
An autopsy on Dorian Lanier confirms their suspicions.
It showed both chronic and acute arsenic poisoning.
Pamela's poison isn't from the pharmacy. It's on tap at their turkey farm.
She had access to a medicine or a product that they used in the turkey industry to promote weight gain for the turkeys, and it was given to them through their water.
All right, darling.
For 2.5 months, Pam doses her husband with the toxic turkey feed.
She gave small doses, which would cause a terrible reaction, and then wait and do it again and again and again.
This was yellowish in color, and it would stain just about anything it touched. Shortly before his death, people were describing Dorian as having a yellowish color.
It would take a very cold-hearted person to watch someone slowly die in pain and agony. Pamela was either sadistic or her heart was as black as coal.
In November 2001, Pamela is convicted of the murder of Dorian Lanier. She is sentenced to life without parole.
This was by far one of the most cruel and unusual cases that I've ever been involved with.
Pamela Lanier's charm lassoed 2 innocent men. Her caring facade masked a soul driven by greed.
Pamela murdered for money, and she enjoyed the sadism. This is not someone you want to meet.
These deadly women used their feminine wiles as a weapon. Angela Murray preyed on a courageous old man. When Eva Dugan lost her looks, she lost her temper. And Pamela Lanier lured 2 men into a poisonous trap. All beautiful women who thought their wish would come true if looks could kill. The vicious attack shocks residents in this prestigious part of town.
It's fairly rare to get that kind of violent crime on the Upper East Side. It's a very affluent community in Manhattan, very staid area. Just the brutality of the beating. His face was black and blue. The cuts were deep in his face.
Angela leaves a trail of clues.
Not only did they take this wrong safe, they stole his car with a vanity plate that had Felix's name on it. She uses his credit card. She's caught on video doing that. She's got his safe and some of his personal belongings at her home. They find a blood-spattered T-shirt at her home.
On the floor, they found Angela Kutz's T-shirt with Felix Brinkman's blood on it.
There was so much evidence associated with this crime, they were bound to get caught.
Elijah Cutts claims it was all an accident.
One of the Cutts brothers said that, they didn't mean to go that far, that they were just trying to put pressure on his neck to get him to give up the money, that they didn't mean to kill him. It's a complete lie. I mean, the evidence of the torture, the duct tape, the gagging of the mouth, all of that stuff indicates that this was a brutal attack. This wasn't just, to scare him a little bit.
When a person is tortured prior to being murdered, murder was always the plan.
The henchmen put the blame back on Angela.
Angela was the driving force behind this crime, not her co-defendants.
And they're not all paying customers. Eva knows how to catch men, but not how to keep them.
In total, Eva had 5 husbands.
She could move well around people, but if you confronted her, she had a temper. Her first husband did leave her for another woman. I suspect that the others did about the same thing.
For 2 years, she tries to avoid the hangman's noose by claiming insanity. Eva's wild past has tainted her body and her mind.
Eva contracted syphilis as a young woman.
A large rash all over the body appears. It almost looks like warts. They are called warty papules. Syphilis causes sometimes shooting pains, numbness, and occasionally it will cause dementia.
30 years later, she had what's known as tertiary stage syphilis. And this affects someone's cognitive process, how they think, and possibly how they behave.
But Eva's illness is no excuse.
There was an insanity hearing shortly before she was scheduled to hang. She was declared sane, so everything was going to go ahead as scheduled.
It seems the worst is over.
They get a hose, they tear out paneling, they pull out the appliances. And according to Mr. Hatcher, they wet it down good.
Confident the fire is out, the men return to work. Soon after, Pam sends out another distress call.
In fact, Johnny was hospitalized for a period of time.
Doctors are stumped.
I don't think there was ever a clear diagnosis.
Unable to diagnose the cause, they release him.
It may have been related to some blood pressure. The diagnosis was confusion. And I don't think they ever, as I recall the medical records, ever really determined what it was.